As native wetlands and marshy ecosystems throughout California disappear, suitable nesting locations for the once abundant tricolored blackbirds are also lost. In order to survive, the breeding colonies that remain today have adapted to the staggering habitat loss the way these birds have, by nesting in dairy silage fields.
It's a mixture of oats and ryegrass that we use for silage for our dairy cows. And it's usually harvested it probably would have been harvested about 2 weeks ago.
Frank Homan owns Homan Dairy, a 2,000 cow farm in Merced. Like many dairymen, Frank grows his own feed to know he'll have what he needs for his animals when he needs it. But with 7,500 tricolored blackbirds nesting in this oat field, harvest will have to wait.
The tricolored bird was detected that they started doing some nesting in the field, and we were asked if we'd be willing to help out, which obviously we accepted, and we left the crop so they could go through the nesting period.
115 miles away in Tipton, California, 5,000 tricolored blackbirds were counted in Frank Mendonca's Tricolored field. Besides the red shoulder and white band beneath, their colonial behavior sets them apart from other blackbirds. For Mendonca, that meant a burgeoning population of birds nesting in fields ready for harvest.
We noticed there was so many more birds had showed up in that same field. They bumped it up to, they thought it was around 5,000. And within a couple of weeks, we noticed that another colony or their friends showed up into this field behind me.
Biologists say 15,000 tricolored blackbirds nested in Mendonca's Tricolored fields.
So tricolored blackbirds are looking for three main components when they're looking where to nest. They're looking for sort of an upright vegetation like this, where they can sow their nest suspended off the ground. They're looking for a water source, so on a dairy that's a ditch or irrigation. And they're also looking for a food source. So they're really attracted to the open grain piles on dairies. Good to see you again.
Samantha Arthur of Audubon, California, has joined forces with Dairy Cares, Western United Dairymen, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS, California Farm Bureau, Sustainable Conservation, and dairy farmers to help increase the tricolored blackbird population.
It would be too dry by that time.
Even though the idea is to get them off of the dairies long term, we're also really interested in figuring out how do we come up with solutions that support the dairy and then also support the bird and allow the bird to nest and reproduce.
Well, it's about 35 days from the day they lay their egg to when they fly away and I can enter the field to harvest. But what happened here was that date kept getting pushed back because more birds kept showing up. So we've delayed harvest, and as you can see, the triticale is quite brown now. The moisture is gone out of the crop, and the grain has gotten quite hard. The cows can't utilize it. So we won't be able to make silage out of this. It'll be more like straw in a bale.
It's hard to find forage now just because of lack of water. And what forage is out there, especially on oats, most dairymen picking up all the oats they can pick up because the corn obviously is going to grow only with irrigation water. With no irrigation water, you're not going to get corn. So everybody's making up that forage with oats, so it's very challenging to find it. Actually, right now, you can't find it. Everything around us within a 10-mile radius is all called for.
With the safety of these birds ensured for this nesting period, the Tricolored Blackbird Working Group has turned their focus to the farmers who have incurred losses by deferring harvest.
For the next 5 years, we've locked in funding so that when dairy producers have tricolored blackbirds nesting on their fields, they can be compensated for some of the losses that they're going to incur as a result of that.
With nearly half of the tricolored blackbirds in California nesting in dairy silage fields, efforts are underway to draw them to habitats like this one, Atwell Island near Alpa.
There is water that has to be used to manage this habitat, but it's when you look at this wetland site, it's kind of a small price to use that water, to pump that water out here and manage these cattails, because these birds could be in a silage field if these wetlands weren't here. I think the tricolored blackbird, with a little bit of assistance can recover. The way that our producers have really joined in and helped this year and previous years. I think we're going to see a recovery of the species, and developing more habitat like this is really going to be the key to that.
67,000 tricolored blackbirds were saved in the 2015 nesting season because of the cooperative efforts between dairy farmers and conservation groups. Frank Homan and Frank Mendonça say if faced with the same situation in the future, they'd do it all again.
It's a small contribution, but we're going out of our way to do it, and just as dairymen, we as dairymen do that. We do care about the environment and the animals and the species that are around us. We do it because we're trying to obviously save the tricolored, plain and simple.
I would rather be known for someone who helped to save them than to be known as someone who didn't care and let them go extinct. I don't want to be that person. I'm not going to be that person. I think it's important that the tricolors survive, and I'd like to be part of that in some small way. It just makes me realize how important it is to help these birds to survive and multiply in my field.